One of the things that was really noticeable last night, and we talked about this briefly before the show, Bundy, was that line with Mishkov, Couturier, and Brink just was as bad a game as a line could play last night. I don't think they work together, and Rick Tocchet and the coaching staff might have to think about trying something else. And the problem that they face, in my mind, is, everybody says, well, play Mishkov with Zegris. Okay, but Zegris is a left wing, so you would say, all right, maybe you go Zegris, because Zegris and Dvorak have played well together.
Yeah, I'd keep those two together.
Right, so keep those two together, and then you got to put Mishkov on the right. But Mishkov has played better on the left than he has on the right, on his off wing. Mm-hmm. So you really are now saying, do we want to put him in a spot where he's playing on the side that he's not as good at, just to get him with Zegris?
Yeah.
And so that's the dilemma that they're facing. They may have to do it, but I think it's not necessarily the right fit, if that makes sense.
Well, and listen, I can hit you with a real issue. I can hit you with the thing that I think is kind of the thing that's kind of looming over this entire thing.
Are you going to side with all the idiots online who blame the captain?
No.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the captain. I don't mind the captain at all.
Okay.
I think that at some point, and I'm sure the conversation is being had, but I don't know why we're seeing what we're seeing. We often talk about the jostling of lines, right, about shaking it up. We had this talk a lot with Torts last year. Just nobody was ever able to build chemistry. At some point, you have to figure out what you have in some of these guys. And Zegris, to me, is one that, long term, because they're going to want to sign him. He presumably wants to sign here longer term. You have to give him at center a legitimate look.
Yeah.
You have to. Because and we talked about this the other night, if Trevor Zegras is a wing, he's still a really good wing. And hell, if he's a point-per-game player, awesome. Cool. You got him for virtually nothing in a trade. Awesome. That's a great find. Great job by Danny. Good bit of trade, right? But if he's a center, it changes everything because now that logjam at wing gets cleared up a little bit. And the problem is whether, I know you think he's a wing and a lot of people seem to think he's a wing. You need to have a long enough look at that before you make that determination because, again, this is where we get into the difference between you're in year 3 of the rebuild and you should be able to experiment with a few things versus you're trying to put together the lineup that you would try to go into the playoffs with. And I don't think they're doing themselves a service here by having Zegras play on the wing. Cool, it works. We know it works. Try him at center for an extended period and get a definitive idea of does it happen or not. Because, by the way, negotiating, who gets paid more, a center or a wing?
Yeah, but here's the problem.
So if you can rule out that he's a center, maybe it also helps you at the negotiating table a little bit.
And I'll ask you about this, Bundy, because here's where the problem lies. They've tried him at center.
Yeah, but not for a long time.
No.
They haven't really.
You're right. They haven't. But he has not looked good at all at the position, not necessarily in the offensive end, because he certainly looks good in the offensive end. He's creative in the offensive end. He makes other players look good in the offensive end. The problem isn't there. The problem is in the other, 120 feet of the ice, where does not play the position well. And that's the issue that they have. And if you're going to play him at center with Mishkov, who also plays zero defense, now what is that like when those guys are on the ice together?
Yeah,
right. That's the problem, and that's why I think that they've been reluctant to do that.
Yeah, and he doesn't take faceoffs very well either. But that can't be the one reason, though, that you don't give him more of an extended look at center. I think you brought him in. I mean, the idea was to give him a shot at center this year, right? Let him play center because Anaheim didn't believe that he was a center iceman either. They wanted to leave him at wing in Anaheim, and that was one of the reasons Pat Verbeek made the trade with Danny to give him a fresh start somewhere where he'd get a look at center. That's what he wanted. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. He's not a 200-foot center iceman, and that's the problem, where defensively he's not that big, strong, strapping center that can go back and make a defensive play, cover up for you. They're talking about guys like Keith Primo,
right?
That can really come back, plays a full 200-foot game. But he's done enough offensively that's, I think, where you have to give him the extended look.
Yeah.
At center and let him try to play with guys. I mean, I saw something the other day. I mean, it may be crazy, but why not just play with Mishkov and Forster? Give that a line a try.
It would be a fun line.
One of the guys over to the right side and see what happens with that.
Can I play a really crazy game? Bundy, tell me I'm an idiot, and it's fine. I'll take it from you. I won't take it from him, though. If you have a line that finds significant success at keeping the puck in the offensive end, is it as important that Trevor Zegras isn't a great 200-foot center. Like, if the idea is that they're able to maintain possession consistently in the offensive zone, doesn't that outweigh? Like, isn't the cost benefit there, the risk assessment, isn't it more advantageous for the Flyers to have somebody who can do that, keep the puck in that end, more so than, be afraid of, oh, God forbid it goes in the defensive zone. How will we ever get out of it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but the problem is, Russ, is he's not going to have the puck the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be times when you're in your own zone and you have to make good plays in the neutral zone and the defensive zone. And that's been a struggle for him at times to figure out the defensive responsibilities that has to occur on his watch as a center iceman.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, would you love to have him playing offense the whole time? Of course.
Sure.
There's different things you can do to try to get him out there more, put him out for more offensive zone faceoffs, but they're not comfortable at him winning draws.
Yeah. Right. He's not good at draws.
He's not
either.
good at draws, so that's one problem. You can't just say we're going to stick him at center in the offensive zone if he can't get the puck back.
Yeah.
His puck retrieval, though, as a player when he's out on the ice is really good.
Yeah.
Like, he really does recover pucks well in the O zone.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, maybe you put him, and they've tried this too, and it hasn't really bore any fruit, but maybe you try him in that hybridized role where when you're in the offensive zone, he's your center, but when he's on the shift for in the neutral zone or defensive zone, he's on the wing, and because Dvorak is flexible enough to play both positions, and maybe that's how you play it.
Yeah. Yeah, let the guy take the draw and just reassume your position after that.
Yeah.
And they've been doing that already.
Right.
I mean, they've been doing that already. It's just a matter of finding the lines that are going to gel and mesh well together.
Yeah.
Like, I do have a question, though, just about the face-offs especially, right? What's the face-off percentage that you ultimately want a good center to have? You want over 50%.
Well,
like,
yeah, I mean,
at or over
50%.
55.
50% is the bare minimum.
Okay.
Right.
That you would want. You don't want to be below 50.
Yeah.
Your best face-off guys are usually your best in the league
Yeah.
are around 60.
Yeah.
So you want somewhere between 55 and 57 is like good, really
Yeah.
good, right?
Yeah.
And that's usually where Coots is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Coots is usually in that 55 to 57 range.
So let me ask you a question. If we're that concerned about Trevor Zegras' inability in the face-off circle, what are our thoughts about a guy like Jack Hughes? Jack Hughes is a good player, right?
Yeah, what's your point?
What about him?
What does Jack Hughes do?
What does he do?
What does he do? What's his position? Jack Hughes. Does Jack?
Why are we talking about Jack Hughes?
Yeah, I'm trying to get.
I'll
don't know
circle
where you're
back
going.
around to it. Go ahead. I'll circle back around to it. We'll just let it marinate for a little bit.
Okay. So yeah, are you trying to compare Zegras to Jack Hughes?
I'm just throwing out the idea. They both take face-offs. They both historically have taken face-offs.
Yeah, but Jack Hughes is a significantly better player than Trevor Zegras.
I'm sure that he is. But I'm saying Trevor Zegras has a 3% better face-off percentage this season and last season than Jack Hughes does. That doesn't stop New Jersey from saying, well, Jack Hughes can't take face-offs.
But Jack Hughes is a more complete player.
Yeah, he's
Of
a
course
much better
sure he
player.
is.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's
But
not.
I'm saying
You're looking at
just
face-offs.
But you're looking at it a lot through the vantage or
No.
through the lens of he can't take a face-off, so you need Dvorak in there to take the face-offs for him. I guess my point is like
My argument, Russ, was that if you're going to play him some at center, what you can do is you can play him at center in the offensive zone. So that way, even if he loses the face-off, you're at least in position to defend. Whereas if you're in your defensive zone, he's out there and he loses that draw. Now all of a sudden, the other team's got the puck in your end. So that's the only time that when I say the hybridized version of it, you kind of get him. Hey, if he wins the draw, great.
Yeah.
Great. Then we're on the attack.
I just
If
don't know
not,
how- I
at
just
least
don't know how
we're down that
sustainable-
end of the ice.
I just don't think it's sustainable. You either have to go all in with him in one spot or not.
Well, that's why everybody thinks he's a winger.
But that's why I'm
ultimately.
saying, like, I just don't know why Rick Tocchet doesn't seem open to the idea of the sink or swim. Give him 15 games, sink or swim. Why not? What honestly, like, what is the fear? Okay, play this one out. What's the fear? What's the downside? Trevor Zegras goes out.
It's not-
and
so
proves,
let
and
me
proves
put
he's
it-
not
let-
a center, and the Flyers don't win some games. Is that the concern?
No, the concern is you can't play him with Mishkov together because neither
then you're-
one is defensively responsible. That's why. You could do it on the power play. You could do it in certain situations. If you're behind and you want to want to try and push for a goal late, and you're in the offensive end, okay, fine. Like, you could do things like that, and sure, that give them an opportunity to play together. But on a regular 5-on-5 tie game throughout the game, You don't want those two playing together. Mishkov is flying the zone left, right, and center. Like, you have nobody to defend. You heard Tocchet talking about it last night after the game where he's like, don't put the blame on the defense. We give up all those odd man rushes. That's on the forwards. And he's 100% right. Right, Bundy? Like,
yep.
those odd man rushes, they go up 8 odd man rushes in the, was it the second period? I think it was. It was either, whatever it was. They had 8 odd man rushes. And he was like, don't blame the defenseman on that. That's our forwards are not in position. And he's right. And so now imagine putting two guys who have very little defensive responsibility on the ice for a regular shift together. You're going to have that all the time.
Well, then they're screwed, and this rebuild has been a failure. Because if you're, I mean,
well, it's
I mean,
not
like,
a failure.
I'm saying take it to the extreme. Then, so if the idea is that Zegris, in theory, the hope was going to be that he could maybe be a 1 or 2C. Now we're looking at it. We're not giving it an extended look because we're afraid of whatever.
I think you already misstated it.
He's a wing or he's a hybrid.
I think you've already misstated it.
Mishkov is the number one guy, the face of the franchise, the guy who's supposed to
you've already
eventually
misstated
be
it.
the most important player on the team long term.
You've already misstated it. The hope that he's a number 1 or number 2C is a fan thing. Yeah, sure. Would the team love for him to be a number 1 or number 2 center? Of course they would. Of course they would. But I think that they made the trade because they saw value in the player, and they didn't give up anything for him. Ryan Poehling isn't even playing for the Ducks. He's been a healthy scratch. So you traded nothing to get a talented player onto your roster, even though they knew in their heart of hearts that the guy's a winger. But they gave up nothing to get him, and he makes the team better. But there was never a belief inside that organization that we just traded for a number 1 or a number 2 center. If he turned out to be that, they'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
But that's not what they traded for. The fans think that's what they traded for, but it's not what they traded for.
Why? Okay, so why did Tocchet spend as much time as he did in the preseason having Zegris play center with Mishkov and actually
because they wanted to take a look at it.
Yeah, they got to take a look at it.
They wanted to take a look at it.
There's another guy that was on that line a few times, Grabenkin. I don't know. He doesn't play, but he also got a look in the preseason.
Right.
It's just interesting to me that like you spend the time. It's fine. Take a look at it. Again, I don't.
Preseason hockey is not regular season hockey.
I know, but I'm saying like I don't fundamentally understand what we're doing here. I don't understand why you would even like Danny could have killed that in the cradle when they acquired him. Or even going into the season, Danny and or Tocchet could have said, look, we gave Zegris that look at center in the preseason. We think ultimately he fits our team better as a wing. Are they worried that they're going to hurt his feelings by saying publicly we don't view him as a center? You leave all these things out there for interpretation. That's why the fans get as upset as they do. That's why there are so many questions around it. Like, you have to at some point be a little bit better at communicating this stuff.
No, you don't.
I think you do.
No, you don't. You don't have to say a darn thing. You don't have to say anything publicly. You don't. They have their internal communications. They talk to the players. They talk amongst themselves. And whatever they say, sometimes we find out, sometimes we don't. You don't have to say anything. You don't.
I actually looked up Jack Hughes' faceoff percentage lifetime. It is 36%.
Yeah. It's like 34 this year. It was like 36 last year. And young Zegris is 37%. So
well, Jack Hughes gets you 100 points, though, Russ.
He does.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah, and he's a better
player.
Better all around.
I'm not
player.
trying to compare the two. I'm just saying that Hughes takes a lot of faceoffs and is a very bad faceoff guy, and yet that doesn't preclude his team.
No one is saying that that's what's precluding Zegris from being a center. It's not. But what I've said again, you can give him an opportunity in the offensive zone. You feel better about it in the offensive zone than you do in the defensive side. So that's pretty much it.